Hey guys, I'm John Setzler with Atlanta Grill Company, and today I'm going to introduce you to my mom, and we're going to cook Mom's pumpkin bread recipe today. Mom's been making this pumpkin bread since I was young. It's delicious, it's sweet, and I finally got her to give me the recipe for it, and I discovered something. She's been holding out on me. This recipe has got nuts and raisins in it, and I don't recall her ever making it that way, but she knows I don't like nuts. But the raisins are a different story, so we're going to take Mom's recipe and put one piece of it back in there. We're going to do a little bit of bourbon-soaked raisins to go back in this, so let's get started. So to get started on this pumpkin bread project, I've got some golden raisins here. I've got about a half a cup total of those, and I'm just going to stick those in a mason jar here, and we're going to soak these in a little bit of Tennessee whiskey. So I'm going to pour just enough in there to cover those raisins. And I'm just going to leave the lid off of that too, because I'm not real concerned if any of the alcohol evaporates out of that. In fact, I'd probably appreciate it a little bit more if it did. So I don't want to overdo this recipe. This recipe makes 2 loaves of pumpkin bread, and the recipe calls for a half a cup of raisins and a half a cup of nuts, both of which are optional. So I'm just going to leave this at a half a cup of raisins. Gonna let that marinate overnight. We're gonna come back tomorrow and put this bread together. We're gonna fire up the Kamado Joe Classic 2 today to cook this pumpkin bread. So I've lit a fire in my firebox, and I'm gonna set my heat deflectors down in the low position here, and I'm gonna set my grill grates up in the top position on the rack. And I am going to use the fireboard today to run this grill at a temperature of 350 degrees. While the grill's warming up, we're going to mix up our dry ingredients here. I'm starting in a mixing bowl with my flour. I'm going to add my sugar, baking soda, baking powder, salt, cinnamon, and ground clove. And I'm just going to take my whisk and kind of get that evenly distributed. And in the bowl of my stand mixer, I'm going to put my wet ingredients together. I've got 2 cups of pumpkin puree, and that's some of that fresh pumpkin that I roasted recently. I've got a half a cup of vegetable oil, and then I've got 2 beaten eggs. So let's get that on the mixer. First thing I'm going to do is bring the wet ingredients together, and once they're combined, I'm going to slowly fold in my dry ingredients. And once those dry ingredients are there, I'm going to let that mix for about a minute. And then I'm going to turn my speed down to just a stir, and then we're going to fold in those raisins. I've drained those raisins off of the whiskey, and I'm just going to stir those in just for a moment, and then we're done. And the next thing I'm going to do is distribute that evenly between 2 loaf pans that I have greased with butter. And then we'll just take these to the grill. My grill's running along nicely here at 350, so we're going to put both of these on here. Mom says this takes about an hour, so I'm going to put them on, and we're going to come back in about 50 minutes. I'll check them, and I'll bring you back when these are done. We've been going right at an hour and 10 minutes here, and these loaves of pumpkin bread are ready. I've checked them with the skewer test. They come out clean. So I'm going to take these off the grill. We're going to let them cool just a little. Okay, I've let these cool and I've taken one of these out of the pan, and I'm just gonna cut that right down the middle there, and we're gonna split that open and have a look. And let me go ahead and take a little piece. This is still warm. I like to let this cool completely, but I can't wait to get a taste of this. And I got a perfect cook in those pans. Oh yeah. Man, that's amazing. Man, this stuff's delicious. This is Mom's recipe, and like I said, the only thing I did differently here than Mom does, well, I did two things, or three. Okay, three things. Number one, I put raisins in it that I soaked overnight in some Tennessee whiskey, Jack Daniels. Number two, I cooked it on the grill. Mom never does that. Just like any other baking project on your grill needs to be clean. You don't want any grease, smoke of any kind in your grill when you're cooking something like this. And number three, Mom uses loaf pans that are a little smaller than what I use today. I wanted to try out these new pans that I have, and they're slightly larger than your regular 4x8. They're more of a 5x9 loaf pan, so these would have done a little higher in a smaller pan. So I may tweak this recipe for the larger pan, but once again, this pumpkin bread's more like a cake than it is a bread. It's absolutely delicious. When you make this, make a bunch of it because it freezes extremely well. My mom makes these in bulk in small pans, wraps them up in saran wrap, throws them in the freezer, and she'll have pumpkin bread for months. So guys, give this a try and let me know what you think. Until next time, this is John Setzler with Atlanta Grill Company.